Okay, this is going to be my Sittin Pretty Chicken pattern. I'm using I don't know if this is the actual burnout blanket or if this is the Mainstays version of like the same weight. This might be the Mainstays. In this off-white color, this will be the main body of the chicken and her wings. I am using the Big Twist Cuddle yarn in gold for the beak and the legs. And I'm using Premier Basics Chenille Super Bulky in, I think this is Ruby. Yes, Ruby for the comb. Now, yes, 3 different yarns, but they're all basically the same. That same kind of terry cloth texture, the same weight. Recommendation of hook size for this yarn, for all 3 of these yarns, is an 8mm, so I'm going to be going down a size using my favorite 7mm Prim hook. Let's see if I can get that to focus there. I don't know if it's going to focus. Anyway, 7mm Prim hook. I love this hook. I love the kind of sharper tip to it. It goes into the stitches so much better. So that's what I'm going to be using. And I'm actually going to be following my pattern from my Ribbler app as we go. So we're going to start with a magic ring. The way I do a magic ring is I hold the yarn over my 3 fingers, pinch it between the 3rd finger and my thumb, and then wrap over those top 2 and make an X like that. And then I'm going to move my thumb to hold the X in place. Slide the hook under both of them, grab that one, and pull it back through. And then make basically 1 chain stitch to kind of secure it in place. So that is the magic ring. Once you get to that point, you can kind of untwist your tail a little bit, because you don't, with chunky yarn especially, you do not want it to get all twisted up. It makes it next to impossible to pull tight later. Then I'm going to loosely single crochet 4 into the magic ring. So 1 and 2. I'll pull some more yarn free so I don't tighten up my stitches too much. You want these to be a little bit loose so that you can tighten your magic ring. So that's 3. And 4. 4 single crochet. Then from this point, gently pull on your tail to start closing your ring. I say gently because this yarn has a tendency to break, so if you get to pulling on that and it's giving you any resistance, you need to stop and kind of work and loosen up your stitches a little bit, and then try and give it another gentle tug, because if you just pull, this is going to snap right off, and then you're just going to have to start your ring over, which is frustrating. Now at this point, I am going to add my stitch marker. So let me set this aside for a minute so I can grab that. I keep my stitch markers on my little scissors. I have a whole bin of stitch markers, but I keep 1 or 2 on the scissors so they're easier to find. I put my stitch marker in the last stitch of each round. Some people do it in the first. I like it in the last. Okay, so that is step 1. For round 2, we're working in a spiral, so we are not going to do the whole slip stitch and chain thing. We're just going to keep going. Round 2, we are going to increase 4 times. So in each of these stitches, we're going to put 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Now moving on to the next stitch. 3 and 4. Okay, now we're on to the third stitch. 5 and 6. And then moving on to the fourth stitch. 7. Wait, what did I do? Yeah, 7 and 8. So you should have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How do I have 9? I'm gonna pause this a minute while I figure that out. Okay, so for round 2, we want 2 single crochets in each stitch around, so it's going to be 8 total when we're done. So I put the stitch marker in the last stitch, so that would be 4, 3, 2, 1. So here's the stitch we're going to start in. I think I started over here last time or something, I'm not sure. So that's 1 and 2. 3 and 4. 5 and 6. Let me get readjusted back to the middle here. Yeah, here we go. So now we're in the mark with our stitch marker. So we'll take our stitch marker out and put the last 2 in. 7 and 8. Okay. So now we're up to 8 single crochets. You can see we're starting to create the little point. That's the top of the head. Put my stitch marker back in my last stitch of that round. Okay. And then round 3, you're just going to do 8 all the way around. So this, and that pattern's gonna kind of continue. This is going to be a gradual increase to make that cone shape. So 1, 2, 3,
Mommy, did you like some bread?
4,
Mommy, do you like some bread?
6. Hold on, baby. 7 and 8. Now move the stitch marker from that stitch to the last stitch you just did. Oops, I think I went through the one on the bottom too. Here we go. Okay, cone's getting a little bigger. So now we're on to round 4. For round 4, you're going to do a single crochet in the next stitch and then an increase in the one after that, and just repeat that pattern 4 times. So it'll be 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, and that's what we're going to do.
Mommy, I'm going to give you some bread.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Mommy, can you please tie it for me?
7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, 12. Okay, so now that we're back to our stitch marker, we should have had a total of 12 stitches. And we will move that stitch marker to the final stitch of the round, getting bigger. Next round, we're going to do a single crochet all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Move that stitch marker. Okay. Next round, round 6, we're going to be doing 2 single crochets, so 1, 2, and then an increase, and repeat that pattern around. So that's 1, 2, increase, so that's 3 and 4 into the same stitch, then 2 singles, 5, 6, then increase, 7, 8, 2 singles, 9, 10, increase, 11, didn't go all the way through, 12, 2 singles, 13, 14, increase, 15, 16. Move our stitch marker. Okay, and then we're going to single crochet around for 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, move the stitch marker. Okay, for round 8, now we're going to do 3 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and then increase in the 4th one and continue that pattern around. So 1, 2, 3, and an increase, 4 and 5 into the same stitch, then 3, 6, 7, 8, and increase, 9 and 10, then 3, 11, 12, 13 and increase, 14, 15, then 3, 16, 17, 18 and increase, 19 and 20. Move your stitch marker. Okay, then we're going to go around. Whoa, sorry about that. I'm kind of trying to use my foot to hold this tripod still, and I moved a little bit, and that didn't work out so well. Let me try to adjust a little bit here. Okay, so we're now in round 9. We're going to do 20 single crochets around. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Move your stitch marker. Okay, round 10, we're going to do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase in the 5th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6. Now 4, 7, 8, 9, 10 and increase, 11 and 12. So then 4 more, 13, 14, 15, 16 and increase, 17, 18, 4 more, 19, 20, 21, 22, and increase, 23, and 24. Okay, so we've gone around 24 times. Got 24 stitches, I mean. Move our stitch marker. Round 11, we are just going to place 24 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, lost my yarn ball. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Okay. So here's what we got so far. Kind of looks like the bottom of an ice cream cone. Now, at this point, you can add safety eyes if you're going to use them. You can wait till you're completed and glue on felt eyes, or do embroidery eyes, or even do fabric paint eyes if you would rather, or if you just don't like dealing with safety eyes. I'm going to go ahead and put safety eyes in this one. So I'll I pulled that loop loose so that it doesn't get lost. And I'm just going to set this aside for a second. I'm a little low on my big safety eyes. I need to order some more. Alright, so safety eyes, if you're unfamiliar with them, are called safety eyes because they have, my lid doesn't want to close. There we go. Are called safety eyes because they're supposed to have a little air hole drilled through them. So technically, if they were swallowed, and you can't, I don't know if you can see on camera, but there's little air holes on either side of the post too. So technically, if they were swallowed, you'd be able to breathe through them. I wouldn't trust it though. With kids under the age of 3, I still would not use safety eyes. I would use embroidery or fabric paint or even felt. Would all be much safer options. So these aren't, I would not guarantee that these are as safe as they claim to be, but this is just going to be a shelf sitter. So I figured I'd do a little demonstration on the eyes too. So if you're going to use safety eyes, you're going to want to put them between rows 3 and 4 and about 2 stitches in between them. So this right here, the tip is round number 1, and you can count the bees. So 1, 2, 3. And so between 3 and 4, like that. And you want to have about 1, 2 visible stitches between them. So yes, her eyes are fairly close together, but that, I think, contributes to the overall derpy look of the chicken, which I prefer. Take that one back out for a moment so it doesn't fall out and get lost. Now, you need to get at the inside of your plush, so you may have to kind of turn it inside out a little bit. So you can see the post sticking through the back of the stitch, and it has this sort of a washer, I guess, piece that slots over the post, and the post is threaded. So then when you press the back, I don't know if you could hear that, but it like snaps over some of the threads. And depending on how thick the yarn is, you could get it over multiple threads. This yarn is pretty thick, so see if I can get that to focus. It went over the second thread, I believe. Alright, so we're going to find the spot for my other eye. So 1, 2, and then put it there. And then turn her back inside out so I can see where to put the back. Put the back over the post. And, oh, I'm losing it. There we go. Put the back over the post and press until you hear or feel it snap. I felt that one, but you couldn't hear it. And the safety eyes are in. You can secure them more if you want to with glue. Some people use a lighter and like melt the back of the post and then press it flat with something, like one of those little silicone finger guards or something like that. With these bigger ones, I have not felt the need to do that. If I were using smaller safety eyes, I probably would secure it some kind of way like that, because the smaller ones have a tendency to just sort of slip back through the yarn. But these great big ones stay in pretty good. And honestly, if it's anything smaller that's going to need smaller eyes than this, I tend to just use fabric paint or felt or something a little safer anyway, because I don't want my plushes coming apart. Okay, so we have our eyes in. We have been making this gradual cone shape, and the next 2 rounds are going to be increase rounds following the same pattern that we did before, but without the solid rounds in between. So that's going to kind of round out the bottom and give her a little bit more of a badonkadonk. So get back into place here. With my hook. So for this round 15, we're going to do 5 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then increase on the 6th spot. And we're going to repeat that until we get back to our stitch marker. Okay, so starting in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then increase. 6 and 7 into the same stitch. Then another 5. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and another increase. So 13 and 14 into the same stitch. Then 5. So 16. Wait, was that 15? 15. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then increase into the next one. Okay, and then another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then increase until this last stitch. So 1, and 2. And that should bring us up to a total of 28 stitches. So then we're going to do another increase round. We're going to do 6 singles and then an increase. So same pattern, but like I said, we did not do a 28 in between. We're just going to do an increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Mommy.
6,
Ellie's little right here.
and increase. 7 and 8 into the same stitch. Now another 6, and we left off on 8 that time. I'm gonna try to keep count better this time. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then an increase. So 15 and 16. Another 6. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and an increase. 23, 24, and then 6. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and then finally increase in our last stitch. So 31 and 32 into the same stitch. Move our stitch marker. Which is actually, there we go, somewhat harder to do with these sharp pointed stitch markers on this thick yarn because it just kind of wants to poke into it like a pin into a pin cushion. Alright, so now we're at 32. Now we are going to do another full single crochet around. So we're going to do 32 around. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32. Okay. Move stitch marker. Now for this next round, we are going to be crocheting in the back loops only. So if you notice, the top of your stitches will look sort of like a V. Like this is the front of your stitch. That's the top of your stitch. It looks sort of like a V. All this time we've been going under both of these loops. This time we're just going under the back loop of all of the stitches, and we're going to do 32 around like that. Still single crochet, just in the back loops only. This is going to help give our chicken a flat bottom to sit on. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there. Now I'm trying to pick up the stitch below it. 9, okay, almost there. Last stitch into that back loop. And move the stitch marker. Okay, now you'll notice that that left sort of a ridge. Those are those front loops that we didn't stitch into. And those will come into play later when we are attaching our legs. Alright, so now that we've gotten this far, we have a comb with a ridge on it. We are going to stuff. Not all the way up to the top, but especially down in that point and as far up as we can comfortably get. Now to get down into that little point of your cone, depending on the kind of yarn you've used, you may not be able to get your fingers up there. Like I can get my fingers up in here pretty easily with this one. But if you've used some small yarn, you may not be able to get your hands up in there to really get her head stuffed the way you want to. So in that case, you could use something like a wooden chopstick or a dowel rod, or even the eraser end of a pencil, and you could just use that to kind of poke the stuffing down where you need it to go. In this case, since I've used such nice big chunky yarn and my hands can get in there, I'm just going to use my hands. So I'm going to keep stuffing. I'm packing it firmly, but not like super packed. I'm not like stuffing it in there as hard as I can. I'm just kind of gently pushing. And I still want to have a little bit of leeway up here where my working stitches are, so that my hook doesn't constantly go through fluff while I'm working on the end of this. So here's what we got so far. And you also don't want to pack it so tightly that fluff starts to show through your stitches. You want her squishy, but not like hard. All right. So now we are going to start decreasing. And I'm going to show you the invisible decrease because it's the decrease I prefer, is basically sewing 2 stitches together. It's still going to be single crochet all the way around. We're going to go this time into the front loops. So we're going to go up in this front loop. Normally for a single crochet at this point we would go ahead and pull a loop through. I'm not going to do that. For the invisible decrease, I'm going to go up through this loop and up through the front loop of the next stitch. So now I've got 2 front loops on here. And then I'm going to pull a loop through both of those and finish the single crochet like normal. So once again, I'm going through the front loop of the next stitch and the stitch after that, pulling a loop through and finishing the single crochet. And we're going to just continue to do that all the way around. So front loop, pull through, finish. 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 And finally front loop with the one our stitch markers in, pull through and finish. So that was 16 times around. See how our hole is getting smaller, our bottom's getting a little flatter. So we turned 32 stitches now into 16 stitches, and then we are going to move our stitch marker. And we're going to do the same thing again. If at this point you feel like you need more stuffing, you could add some more stuffing into that hole, because after this the hole may be too small for you to get your hands into easily. I feel like I have enough, so I'm just going to finish. So we're going to do another round of decreases all the way around. We're going to wind up taking these 16 stitches down to 8. And so front loop, pull through, finish. Front loop, pull through, finish. That's 2. Front loop, pull through, finish for 3. Front loop, pull through, finish 4. Front loop, pull through, finish 5. Front loop, pull through, finish 6. Front loop, pull through, finish 7. And front loop, oh, my stitch marker's getting in the way of my hook. Front loop, pull through, finish 8. So now you can see our hole is quite small on the bottom. Our bottom has gotten pretty flat. She'll sit nicely. So now we can go ahead and pull our stitch marker out. And we are going to, where's my scissors? At this point, we are going to cut our yarn. I'm going to leave, you don't need a whole lot. I'm going to leave probably about this much to sew close. That looks like about 6 to 8 inches. Whatever you're comfortable with for sewing closed. Extra doesn't hurt. Alright, and then to finish off, you let the dog smack the camera. Let's fix that, sorry. To finish off, you're going to pull that final loop straight out, and that sort of knots it in place like that. Then we need to close this last little bit of hole, so that's going to take just a smidgen of sewing. Let me get my needle. I prefer these needles that have a bent end. Just makes this easier for me. Kind of pinch and shove the yarn through. It can be hard to do with thicker yarns. Then, starting on the inside of the hole, I'm going to come up through the top loops of each of these stitches. So kind of like doing the decreases, but with a needle. So 1, 2, just doing it gently for now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That puts me all the way around. So now, just like when we were closing up our magic loop, our magic circle at the beginning, you can gently pull and it will cinch that hole all the way closed. So this is what your bottom should look like at this point. Then you can take your yarn tail here. I'm going to kind of take it up underneath a couple of the stitches right there. pull it through so that we have a loop. Put the needle back through the loop and tighten down. Okay, so once you have that tail kind of knotted right there, you can then take your needle and just poke it through close to the knot and shove it. Like I take my thumb and I just shove real hard until that needle comes out somewhere else. Pull it through and get it off. And then see how it's still kind of divoted in a little bit. Pull it up so that it's a little bit snug. Snip it off right there. And then squeeze to loosen that back up, and it'll suck that yarn tail up into it so you don't even know where it is anymore. Completely hidden. Okay, so this is the body of the chicken with her eyes. Doesn't look like a whole lot yet, but we have more pieces to add. So let's start on the wings. The wings are still using this same off-white cream color. And we're going to start like we did before with a magic circle. So again, I drape it over all my fingers, pinch on that third one, wrap it over the top two to make an X, like that, hook under both, move my thumb to kind of hold things in place, and then you're going to bring the bottom one under the top one, like that. And, make one chain to hold it in place, and then loosen up your tail. Then you're going to be doing single crochets again over both of these loops, or both of these pieces. This time we're going to do 7. Again, do it, on the looser side. Don't do it super tight because you need to be able to tighten that tail. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't mind the noises of my dog bothering my cat. And the other dog. He's a puppy. He bothers everybody. 7. Okay. I don't have much of a tail left, but now you're going to gently pull your tail to tighten your circle. Very gentle, because otherwise this yarn will snap. Alright, so now we have tightened our circle. Now, before we worked into this next one and continued around the circle and made a big circle, we are not going to do that this time for the wings. We have got 7 stitches. We are going to chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to work back across the other direction, and we're going to increase in each stitch. So we're going to wind up with 14 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, and 14. Okay, and there you have it. That's gonna be our chicken's wing. So you want a long tail to sew it on with. Cut. And to finish off, just like we've done before, you can either just pull straight up and tighten, or sometimes when I'm at the end of the wing, I will actually do another chain and then pull it up and pull it tight to knot it off. There you go. This little tail we're gonna hide in here. So this is the tail that was from the center of our magic ring. Okay. And I'm just going to, actually I think I'm going to start over here and kind of go the opposite direction of where I had pulled out of. And I'm just working the needle up under some of those stitches and pull it through one way and then work back the other direction like that. Pull it through the other way. And then I'm going to snip it off. And just kind of fluff out the wing a little bit, and it'll suck that in back in and hide it completely from sight. So now this is ready to be stitched onto our chicken, and you're going to make one more like this. Okay, so one wing, two wings with tails for sewing. We're going to set these aside for now, and we are going to start on the feet. For the feet and the beak, we're going to use this gold color. You can use yellow or orange or whatever. I just use this. I like this color for chickens. I think it's cool. Alright, so this one we're going to do a slip knot because we're actually going to start a chain. A slip knot starts pretty much the exact same way as the magic circle. So grab hold of it, wrap around your two fingers, make an X, pull under both, and then drag that bottom one under. But now, instead of making a single chain and continuing on, we're going to take our tail and go ahead and pull on it. That makes our slip knot. And then we can snug that up to the hook. You don't want it too super tight, but just collar it around the hook. Okay, we're going to chain 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Okay, then it's a little bit harder to see on this yarn, but starting with the second from the hook, you're going to do a slip stitch, and then again in the third chain from the hook, slip stitch, so now you've done 2 slip stitches. Now you're going to chain 2 from this point, 1, 2, slip stitch into this second loop from the hook, like that, loosen it up a little bit. And then you're going to slip stitch again into this, which was the third chain from this one. So you're slip stitching back into where you slip stitch the second time. So slip stitch like that. That's going to give you 2 chicken toes. So I'm going to do it a third time. So 1, 2 chains, slip stitch into the next one, and then slip stitch into that third one on the main chain. Doo, doo, doo. And that gives you, it's hard to see with the hook in the way, chicken toes. Tighten them back up. Okay. Then you're going to slip stitch the rest of the way back down the chain. So that should be 12 more slip stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kind of get a feel for the way the next one is. There we go. 6. Careful not to get it twisted. 7. 8. Sorry about the dogs. 9. Actually. Okay, sorry about that. I had to go yell at the dogs to be quiet. I've lost count where we are. But we're just going to continue slip stitching down that chain until we get to the very end, which we just have. There we go. And there you have a chicken leg. Not to be confused with a chicken nugget, which, as I'm looking at this yarn, this would probably make really good chicken nuggets. Okay. So then we're going to cut off, leave some for sewing. And same as every other time we have finished off, just pull that straight out and kind of tighten it up a little bit. I'm going to leave this tail on because it'll help tie it to the chicken later. And we need 2 of these. I'll go ahead and show you the second one because that little toe stitch can sometimes be a little annoying. Okay, so slip stitch, or slip knot rather, like that. Tighten it up. 15 chains. If I don't slide right out of there. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So skip this one, second one from the hook, and slip, and third one, slip, chain 2, 1, 2, slip stitch in the second one from the hook, slip stitch in the third one from the primary chain, chain 2, slip stitch into the second one from the hook, and into the third one from the primary chain, and then back down the remainder of that primary chain. And be careful not to twist your chain as you go, or you'll wind up with a gimpy chicken. Nobody wants a gimpy chicken. There we go, leg number 2. Oh, sorry, did not mean to bump my camera. Okay, so now we have 2 wings, 2 legs. Oh, I turned my computer on. Now we're going to work on the comb. Comb in ruby. Again, this is going to be a chain, so we're going to do a slip knot. Like that, and we're going to chain 6. 1. Why do I keep doing that? 2. Oh gosh. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Then into the second chain from your hook, you're going to do a single crochet and a half double crochet into that same stitch, like that. You're going to slip stitch into the third chain from the hook. Okay, and then into the next one, which is the 4th chain from the hook, you're going to do a half double crochet, and then a double crochet, still in the same stitch, and then another half double crochet, still all in that same stitch. Okay, see what we got going on here? Then you're going to slip stitch into that 5th chain from the hook, and into this last chain you're going to put a half double crochet, and a single crochet. Okay, and there. See? Chicken comb, just like that. And we're going to cut off, leave enough for sewing it on. Again, probably 6 to 8 inches is really all you need for any of these to sew on, but extra doesn't hurt if you've got the extra at the end of your yarn. And we are going to chain 1, pull through, and snug it down. And that is our comb. And we're going to hide this little tail. So you're just going to kind of go through the body of a few of the stitches in one direction. And then maybe through those chain stitches on the bottom. Just wherever you can slide your needle through, really. To kind of tuck it away and hide it. It's not going to pull loose because that's where the slip knot is. And then cut the excess of that tail off. Smooth out your comb a little bit and it'll suck it up inside, and you'll never know where it went. It's gone. Okay, now it's time to sew all of our pieces together. So we're going to start with the comb, which is the thing we just finished. chicken head. And you want to center it over the peak of that head. Right about there. So that that biggest bump is right over the top peak of the head there. And then you're going to just use your darning needle to go up through one of the stitches on the chicken's face, and then through the next stitch on the comb. And then back through the chicken's head, back through the comb, and just keep doing that over and over again until you have it secured in place where you want it going vertically down the middle of the head. Some people use pins to hold these in place, but I don't know. I have the hardest time getting the pins to actually stay in themselves. Like, they just want to fall out. So I don't know how they do that. I don't do that. I just hold it. Usually once I get that first stitch or two in where I want them to, it's not too hard to manipulate the rest of it to go where I want it to go. Okay, one last little piece here. Yoink. Alright, so now the comb is on. And we're going to tighten it, or tie it off rather. We're going to go back through the comb. Since the yarn is red and we don't want it to show up, we're not going to put it through the white part. Pull through gently so that it leaves a little bit of a loop. Go back through the loop to make a knot. Tie it off. Tighten, tighten, tighten. Be careful not to pull so hard that the yarn breaks though. That won't do you any favors. Then go back in through the loop, through the red, but also like down into the body of the chicken. Same thing we did at the bottom. And then just push till that needle starts to poke out somewhere. There it is. Grab it. Pull that through. Pull kind of snug. Cut the thread. And then there, see how it just popped right back in? You can't even see where the red was. And now your comb is on. Okay, now we're going to stitch on the wings. So set her aside right there so I can get one of the wings ready. We got a nice long tail for sewing. Probably a lot more than we need, but that's fine. I'd rather have too much than not enough. Squish the yarn through the needle. Now your wing, you're really only going to attach this top point. The rest of it's going to be loose. And you want the wings to go below the eyes and on opposite sides of the body, kind of around row 7 or 8-ish. It doesn't have to be exact. But if you like counting rows so that you know you're putting it in the same place every time, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you'd want it somewhere in here-ish. And directly on the side of the body. So I'm going to go ahead and just poke my needle through right there. And pull it up. Okay. Now we want it to go backwards like this. See, just like that. And I'm just going to hold it down with my thumb and go back through this top corner of the wing a few more times and into the body a few times just to secure it in place. So go through there, go through on this side a little bit, going through the body. That's just the wing. There, that's got the body. It can be a little difficult when the wing is the exact same color as the body. Snug that up again. And then maybe one more time through the wing, up through the body. Tighten it. So again, like I said, we just have this top corner sewed down, so the rest of the wing is loose. And then we're going to do like we've done a couple times before now. Go under a couple of stitches. Leave us a loop to send our needle through. Make a little knot. Tighten it down. And then poke the needle through to come out the other side somewhere. Yeah, see, I had way too much, way more yarn than I needed, but that's totally fine. Pull it a little snug. Snip. And then squish her back into place. Okay, we have one wing. Now we're going to do the same with the other wing. Okay, so we're going to stay on the same row and just go to the, whoop, I dropped her. I got her back. Okay. Same row, go all the way across to the opposite side of the body, kind of behind the eye. See how there's, just draw a straight line down from right behind the eye. That's kind of where you want it to start. Oop, not that far in. There we go. Get her started. Flip that around to the other way. There we go. Okay. And then through the wing, through the body, just a couple of times. And then under a stitch. Back through the loop. Snug it down. Okay, and then poke it back through. Send that needle out somewhere else. Here we go. Pull it in. And I dropped her again. Poor thing. She's having a rough day. Alright. 2 wings. And a comb. Now we're going to sew on the legs. Okay, legs are going to go basically straight down from the eyes. And you're going to use that ridge as your starting point that we left before when we did the back loop only stitch. So pull up silly tail. Alright, pull up through the ridge like that. And then place another couple of stitches to hold it in place. Okay. And then you can actually tie a knot with that other tail that we left behind earlier. And bury it in the body like we've been doing. And this time we're also going to bury the other end. I'll try to get it to come out that same hole if I can. Let's see. Almost. There it is. Okay. Trim those off. And then pull the leg back out. You may have some little fluffies, but other than that, that yarn end just disappears. And now we have one leg on. And we're going to do the same thing with the other leg. And it'll wind up being about 2 stitches in between the legs, just like we did with the eyes. You see I'm just coming kind of in a straight line down from the eye to right here. And see, there's 1-2 stitches in between the legs. Still going through that ridge we left behind when we did the back loop only. So run a couple of stitches up through there. And then tie these two together into a knot for extra security. And send this up through the body. And then get this other one and send it up through the body. We are almost done, y'all. Okay, legs are on. Okay. Now she just needs her beak and she'll be all finished. If you had enough of a tail left from the legs, you could use some of that. Let's see what I got here. Now, I think these pieces are going to all be too short, so I'm just going to cut another little length from the main yarn skein. You don't need a whole lot, but I'm going to cut probably about 6 inches just to make sure I have enough to work with. Okay, so for the beak's gonna go right under the eyes, and we're gonna make a little point. So I kind of turn sideways so I can look at what I'm doing here. I'm gonna go in directly under one eye and come out directly under the other eye. And I'm gonna pull, but not all the way. I'm gonna leave enough to tie a knot with. Okay, and I'm gonna come back across and go back in that same hole, but I'm gonna come out down here in like a triangle point and move that yarn so that it goes on that side of the needle, the underside of the needle. So now when I pull this up, like this, it'll kind of, you know what, I think maybe I didn't come down far enough. It'll still work, but let's do it again. Just gently pull it out. See, I haven't tied anything yet, so it comes out pretty easily. Okay, so again, under one eye, come out under the other one. Go back in through the same spot. Oops, sorry for bumping. But you're going to come out at a diagonal angle below. And this yarn needs to go under your needle so that when you pull this through gently, there, it's making a triangle shape. Then I'm going to take and go, see, now the yarn is coming from above this loop. I'm going to wrap around and go back into that same hole and come back out under this eye, and that's going to help secure that triangle shape into place. Don't pull too hard or your embroidery will just sink into the chicken's face. Okay, and then I'll get rid of that needle. So now we have these two little tails right here that we are going to tie into a knot. It's actually really hard to do and keep it in camera range at the same time. There we go, tie into a knot. So now we have this little knot next to the eye, and we have our beak shape. Then we take the blunt end of our needle here, and we're going to just gently poke that knot and those yarn ends down into the stuffing of the chicken. And kind of dig around a little bit to make sure that's down in there. And then give your chicken a little squeeze to resettle her, and there she is. So let me set her up here and then back up a little bit so y'all can see her. And there she is, all finished, the Sittin Pretty Chicken. Now, if you followed along with this video, it probably took you about an hour to make, but once you kind of get the hang of it, it moves along pretty quick. I can get one of these done in about half an hour. Happy chickening!